8 is Toxicodendron radicans. Used to be called rose radicans, and that's in the sumac family, Anacardiaceae. This is poison ivy.
Wow.
Right? And a lot of people don't realize that poison ivy really has 2 growth characteristics. A lot of people are shocked when they see these large trunks going up a tree and then realize that they are poison ivy, because often we see it as a ground cover. And the leaf form is slightly different with it growing on the ground also. I was sailing up in the North Channel around Manitoulin this year, and we pulled into this little island called Club Island, and there were 2 other sailboats there. We anchored, launched the dinghy, and went off to shore, and saw these people aimlessly walking through this low ground cover, a beautiful green plant. And I said to them, "You just walked," and they were in flip-flops, "you just walked through poison ivy." And the big problem is when it's actively growing, it produces a lot of sap, and sap is the irritant, although this can cause problems. If I snap that and you rub your finger there, there's a good chance you're going to get poison ivy. I won't, but you might. So we're not going to take a sample of this because I don't want rashes and stuff. No sample of this because it's poison ivy. How to identify it? Well, there aren't any leaves left on it this time of year, but there is an old saying, "Leaves of 3, let it be." Now that's not really correct because it's actually leaflets. So it almost has a leaf that's very similar to Acer gricium. Yeah, and it goes bright red in the autumn, but you really want to look at the leaf, and if there's one plant that you should really educate yourself about, it is this one. The other characteristic is it does produce these clusters of white berries, which are, they've dried up a little now, but they are almost triple the size that they are currently, and they're really quite attractive when the plant is in fruit. And that's about August. So you can see why they've dried up substantially. And as I said, it changes dramatically when it hits a place where it grows, or where it can climb. And it's like the tree is on fire in the autumn with the red on it. It's got beautiful fall color, make a great ornamental vine. Now, if you didn't like your neighbors, plant it along the fence between you and them. And it's a great character that way.
How do you prune it?
Well, you can just prune it. You prune it to use it.
And you don't want to get poison ivy.
Well, then you've got to wear gloves. But poison ivy, it's the sap, right? So if the sap gets on this, you can transfer it. So you've really got to be careful. So if you are dealing with it, got to make sure you wear gloves, but you don't touch the gloves to anywhere else on your body, any of your clothing, etc., etc., etc. So I've heard of people who actually remove it and then they burn it. If you burn it and you inhale the smoke, you're taking in the toxins into your throat and lungs, and you'll get poison ivy internally as well, which can be really quite critical because it can clog your esophagus. No, I've never had. I don't get it. I'm immune. Yeah, there's a small. Yeah, there's a small percentage of the population where you're immune to it, and I happen to be one of the lucky ones.
I don't know. I'm not going to test it.
Most people are not immune to it. So, yeah, and with our pesticide ban in Ontario, this is one of the legal ways that you can go to a store. I think this, you can actually go and buy Roundup to control poison ivy. So there seems to be a great growth spurt of poison ivy in Ontario because people are going to the stores and buying Roundup glyphosate to kill poison ivy when they probably don't have it and they're using it for something else. So that is the vine. So make sure you look up the leaf. The leaf is really quite distinct, and It's a very valuable piece of information. I'm amazed at how many people I see who are, I used to do a lot of canoeing up in the French River District, and how many people I see canoeing through there and setting up campsites and have no knowledge of this, and setting up their tents and their sleeping bags and patches of this, right? And then have to cut short their vacation because they're completely covered in poison ivy.
People don't think it's as bad as it is. It really hurts.
Yeah, it's cool.
The flowers kind of pink.
The flowers are kind of a greeny off color. They're not really that conspicuous. They're interesting if you look at them, but you've really got to search for them up close. Okay? The other plant I want to